This week's Sideline View, Offaly hurling in turmoil, but did Babs walk or was he pushed? The Munster final, no Cork, Limerick or Tip, it's the real powers, Clare versus Waterford. And we go west as the Galway hurlers prepare for another championship. Hello there, and you're very welcome to the programme, which is dominated tonight by hurling. Now, Tomas Mulcahy and Pete Finnerty are with us, and in a few minutes we'll be looking forward to the big games this weekend. But first, let's deal with the big story of the week, the resignation of Babs Keating as Offaly manager. Babs has only been in charge of Offaly since last autumn, but when he took the job, Offaly knew they were getting someone with a fine track record. Before Offaly, he'd been in charge of two other teams, Tipperary for 8 years and Laois for 2 seasons. Remember, he had great success with his native Tipperary. After 17 lean years, he brought home 2 All-Ireland titles and 2 National League titles as well. But from the very beginning, his relationship with Offaly seemed a little fraught. A friendly match for which some players didn't turn up caused friction, and following it, Babs had some harsh words for the players in his charge.
The only thing about a county like Offaly and a county like Laois that I was with, these things won't happen in Tipperary or Kilkenny or Kerry or Cork. And that's the kind of tradition that I was brought up in Tipperary, and it is the kind of tradition that fails a county like Offaly sometimes. And you know, if I have anything to add, like, it's that area of discipline, and that is discipline that I'm talking about goes a long, long way.
Strong stuff. Now, on the one hand, it's easy to see that sort of chat as simply Babs' way of trying to galvanise the team. I must say, when I read of his comments last Monday morning in the team's performance, I thought it was more of the same. But as it turned out, it was much more serious, and following his departure from the job on Tuesday evening, all sorts of questions remained. Did he go of his own volition? What, if anything, had gone on the pitch between himself and the captain on the day, Brian Whelan? And how do Offaly people feel about their players going head-to-head with their manager? Well, Brendan Ward, chairman of the Offaly County Board, told Jim Carney his version of exactly what happened this week.
Our manager, Babs Keating, made some remarks, as he would, as any manager would, in the dressing room, but unfortunately on Monday morning they appeared on one of the national papers, and it didn't go down well. And certainly by Tuesday, one of our players, Johnny Pilkington, added to it and had his version on a paper on Tuesday. And at that stage I knew that we were in trouble. I knew that the temperature was rising with our players and with some of our people, and I spoke to Babs. I contacted him earlier in the morning, but I spoke to him at 2:30 approximately on Tuesday. I told him the situation, how I felt, as I felt what would happen. We had an executive meeting on Tuesday night, with a county board meeting following the executive meeting. I told him as I saw the situation. I felt that this thing was stacked against them, and I feared for what could happen. He still wanted to stay on. He's a determined guy. He's a decent guy, Babs. So at the conclusion of our conversation, he offered his resignation and I accepted it.
What do you say to people who ask you the question, did he go or was he pushed?
I certainly can't say he was pushed. I can say what I did. I can stand over what I did. I give him my side of the whole story, how it would affect him, how it would affect our players, how it would affect me, how it would affect the county. And I would always put my county, our players. To me, that's what is important.
Why do you think the players and Offaly hurling people were stung so badly on the Monday?
We're a small area. We're a closely knit unit, as I would see it. And personally, I would always believe, I would always stand up for our players. It would be, we have problems the same as any other county. And I would certainly hate to think that anybody, Babs may have did it for the right intentions. He may not have meant to injure anybody or hurt anybody. But certainly, as an Offaly man, I don't like anybody giving out about our players.
On Tuesday, what was the reaction around Offaly to Johnny Pilkington's response?
The reaction to Johnny's response was that people read into Johnny that he was certainly saying what an awful lot of people believed, that whatever happened with Babs, our manager, whatever happened in the dressing room, should have stayed in the dressing room, not come into the public domain. That would be the feeling.
It's been said that Brian Wheelahan had cross-words with Babs during the match and that cross-words were exchanged in the dressing room. You were in that dressing room.
From the position I was in the dugout, I cannot say that one of the players had cross-words with him. I can say that one of our players did go towards Babs, and I would believe that whatever happened was for the betterment of our team and for the betterment of what was happening on the field. I doubt very much if there was crosswords. But I will say that one of our players, a captain on the day, Brian Whelan, he spoke tremendous stuff. Everything he said was important, and nobody better than Brian to say it.
Could this job be a poison chalice now? John McIntyre just 1 year, Babs less than a year?
We have a system in Offaly which I think is a very good one. We have a system that we appoint managers. For the football or hurling, we have a system, it's a year, appointed for a year, and we review it after that year.
By Wednesday, could the marriage of Babs Keating and Offaly Hurling have been saved?
I have to say that the marriage was over, that it could not be saved.
Interesting. With us in studio are Tomás Mulcahy and Pete Finnerty, but would you believe, while that report was on air, we've got news exclusively to Sideline View of who's taking over as Offaly senior manager. Michael Bond, who played minor, under-21 and senior hurling with Galway in the late 60s and early 70s, will take over. He trained Galway at underage level and senior. They won an under-21 All-Ireland in 1983 and trained the Galway senior team in 1984, but he hasn't been involved since then. His appointment, announced to us just in the last couple of minutes, is for the remainder of the championship season. Well, Pete Finnerty, you know Michael Bond. Are you surprised?
Yeah, I am surprised. I know Michael, I know his record, and he's a principal of vocational school in Loughrea. He would have the time and he would have the discipline in that kind of a manner that Offaly need at the moment, but he hasn't really done anything since 1984, and that's a long span. And even inside in Galway, his name hasn't been bantered around as some people's names has been, to be interested in coaching or managing a team.
Right. Surprised. How he'll get on we'll talk about, but can I just refer back to the Babs Keating thing? Did you get the impression from Brendan Ward there that maybe he was pushed?
Yeah, I would get that impression, and I thought all along that it really was Babs' idea to go with it, you know, and he felt he wasn't getting the commitment and he wasn't getting the support, and he went. But listening to Brendan there, definitely there was a little hand on the back there, if not two hands, if not a few hands on the back. And Offaly probably sat down on Monday night and decided, look, we're still in the championship, we still have a chance, but with the way things are, people taking swipes at one another, players taking swipes at the manager taking a swipe back, we're not going to make any impression in this championship. So they had a word with Babs, and they probably convinced him to work a little harder on his golf swing and relax for the summer. It's going to be difficult for Bond to come in now. It really is a poison chalice. John McIntyre was ousted out a year ago. Babs is now ousted out. Where's Bond going to go?
I believe you were pretty close to the scene there at one stage of the shake-up.
I wasn't I lucky? I was pretty close. I was down to the last few, all right, and there's one thing that did talk about in every interview that I had with him was, what would I do on a Sunday morning writing for the Independent and managing Offaly? How was I going to keep the balance happy? And it seems the papers, it's okay to say something inside in the dressing room, and Babs has always been critical of his teams that don't perform. He's even called the team that Tomás is on donkeys or something like that, so he's always vocal and always that way, and they should have known when they appointed him that that's what he was going to do. But they don't like that. They like their hurlers, and as Brendan Ward said there, they'll stand by their own, and that's what they've done.
Tomás, can this Offaly squad, who have plenty of experience, get it together again?
It's going to be very difficult days. They've got 2 weeks to an All-Ireland qualifying at this stage. Michael can come in, he can get morale going again, but I think at the end of the day it's going to be the players themselves. It's going to be the Johnny Pilkington, it's going to be the Brian Wynn. They're the guys with the experience, they're the guys that actually can spur on the younger team, but it's going to be difficult.
Okay, interesting to see, but just to repeat again, Michael Bond from Galway is the new Offaly senior hurling manager. Right, let's move on to this weekend then, and the big provincial final, the Munster Hurling Decider, an encounter which is always so full of life and passion, and as Marty discovered when he met up with some of the principals involved, this year should be no exception.
This is a German Goshawk. He looked well with a hurley in his hand.
He looked well, I'll tell you. Yeah, we could do with him. Chasing the ball. He'll stay with anybody, will he?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely when he stays with me,
He will, that's the truth.
Yeah, well, he has the helmet on the minute he came near me. He's a lovely bird.
Takes one to know one, they might say. He's considered something of a hawk down in Clare, and probably not without reason. But what is it that makes Durlock Man just so special?
Back to the 45, Hey, what are you doing out there? Hurry up, hurry up!
The bottom line of what makes Ger that bit extra special as a coach is just, if you were a witness at our training sessions, the speed in which it's conducted at, and it brings out the difference between club hurling and county hurling is that you don't get time in county hurling. If you're that bit slow to get the ball and strike the ball, you'll be found out and you'll be hooked and the ball will be taken away, and the way Ger pushes home to you that you have to do things at speed.
And Ger's views in his captain.
You know, there are some players at a training session, and if they're not there, you feel that there's something missing, you know. I think his leadership leading up to big games is absolutely vital, and on the day of the game itself, it's absolutely crucial. You know, he never loses the head, stays calm, stays clear-headed, can make up for his own deficiencies in his own play by using his head, and inspires all fellas around him. And when the pressure is at its greatest, Anthony's at his calmest, and I mean that's the real test of a leader.
And Daly's leadership, and indeed that of Ger Loughnane himself, was tested recently in the game between Clare and Cork. Many people had written off Clare beforehand, thinking perhaps the hunger was gone. But
there is no such thing as a perfect display. But having said that, you know, you would have to say it was probably our best display over the last 3 or 4 years. No doubt about that. No point in running away from that. It was our best display, but you know, every display can be improved upon, and the first quarter of an hour especially, or the last day, is something that we can really improve on the next day.
Intensity-wise and in our heads, I thought we were very right for the game, and it was one of our better performances that way. But hurling-wise, I'd say we'd have to improve quite a bit, you know, to match Waterford, who I felt probably should have beaten Cork in the league final. You know, I thought they had more to play, and if they'd finished better and tightened a little bit up in the full back line, they would have come out on top that day. So I'd say we've a bit to go for this one, you know.
whatever about that, the newspaper reports in the game against Cork were full of praise for the quality of the Clare display. But they also revealed criticism of Loughnane and his tactics. He declared a team which on the day was different to that which took the field, but he remains totally unapologetic.
There were two players playing for the first time in the Munster Championship. So, I mean, we thought that the best position was to guard them against any publicity leading up to the game that might distract them from the task ahead. And, you know, it worked out perfectly on the day. When you go into news agents nowadays, you see this huge choice of papers in front of you. So, and within all those newspapers, there is fierce competition between the different writers within the same newspaper. So, obviously, any writer that can come up with something different or something sensational, he's the one that's going to get attention. So, I mean, attacking the manager over his tactics, that's just par for the course. You just take the rope with the smooth. We have changed a few things around. People don't like the way we've changed them around, but we've changed them around, we think, for the better of the Clare team. And that is, as long as we do everything in the interests of the players, that is the main thing, you know. And if you're beaten after that, and you look back at it and you say, now, did we leave any stone unturned? If you say we didn't, we did our level best, well then you have no guilt over losing after that.
But will they still be proud possessors of the Munster Championship after Sunday? Well, at the home pitch of the team hoping to dethrone them, ticket sales last Monday were brisk, despite terrible weather conditions.
The first batch was sold out at 6:10, and we're in the process of selling out a second batch of tickets now, so we'll be finished, I guess, about 7 o'clock. We got 18,000 an hour, and we allocated some through the clubs, and the rest then we put on sale, we advertised and put on sale. But there was a lot of interest in this game, and they were queuing up outside the ground here, the stadium here, from 5 o'clock this afternoon.
And it's over, and Waterford have won it.
Yes, this is why Waterford will be in action on Sunday. Their win 5 weeks ago over Tipperary, a win which, according to their manager, Gerald McCarthy, was of immense significance.
I think that win over Tipperary was very important for this Waterford team, because Tipperary had beaten them for a long, long time when they met in the championship, and it's been quite a while since we beat Tipperary. So from that point of view, it was a big hurdle, and it was a good one to clear for this Waterford team, because, you know, when I came down here first, I did say, Gerard, that, you know, for them to improve as a team, they would have to be signposts along the way. They would have to have gaining confidence, and you know, it's not like saying, lads, you've got to have confidence and self-belief next Sunday when you go. It doesn't work that way. They've got to start to believe it themselves and understand it themselves, and that can only happen by having good results along the way. We've had that. We've had some very good displays, some very good results, so that the team now realises that they are, yeah, not far off the top really.
Paul Flynn goes for a score, and it's gone
post. Great score by Paul Flynn.
Paul is an exceptional talent, there is no doubt about that. Tremendous player going forward, very exciting, has a great stroke left or right and moving at speed, and certainly he is a very, very good forward, and he would be one of the men that we would obviously be looking to Sunday to get the vital scores for us.
But the man that many think has really made a difference to this team is Gerald McCarthy himself.
Well, I think Gerald McCarthy's been fantastic, you know what I mean? He knows his hurling inside out and backwards, and he's a great motivating force behind the team, you know, so it's been great to have a person there that's been there and done that, you know, so.
So they're in the big time, coming to terms with all the attention and indeed pressure which a place in the Munster final brings with it. But with the so-called backdoor system in operation, is it at the end of the day a match which really matters at all? Well, it certainly seems to be.
I don't think it makes it any easier. The Munster final is there to be won, and the first 5 or 10 minutes on Sunday, Clare are going to make sure that we know that they want to win it more than us, you know, so it's a battle of wits, battle of everything, and it doesn't make it any easier, really. There is a comeback, but we still want to win the Munster final.
A Munster title is a Munster title. I was lucky enough to win 9 of them. I played in 9 finals and was lucky enough to win 9. Certainly every one of them was valuable to Ger, and I don't think that anybody, any hurler worth his salt, would go onto the field and not want to win a Munster title.
I mean, the Munster title is such a huge title to win, you know, and the most enjoyable days we've had since we started out have been in the Munster Championship, believe it or not in Croke Park. You know, if you think of 95 winning below in Thurles, and then in last year winning below in Páirc Uí Chaoimh against Tipperary. I mean, they were the 2 greatest days, for me anyway, they were the 2 greatest days we've had since we started out in 95. So the Munster final is such a huge occasion to win another one. That is incentive enough in itself. Whatever about a backdoor, whatever about anything else. That is the huge prize that's at stake on Sunday, and we're going all out, or giving our level best to try and win it. If we meet a better team on the day, and if Water win it, we'll be the very first to congratulate them. We know what it's like to make the breakthrough, but it won't be a breakthrough they'll make easily, because we're going to give it a real lash on Sunday.
Well, Clare have won it! Clare are the Munster champions! 1932! 1995! They came, they believed, they knew they could conquer, and they've done it! The curse of Biddy Early is consigned to history. The tears today are tears of joy.
I wonder if Waterford will be enjoying scenes like that on Sunday. By the way, since that interview, we've been told that Gerald McCarthy's sister sadly passed away, so our condolences to the family on that. We'll get the lads' view on the big match in a moment, but Saturday night's Connacht final between Roscommon and Galway is seen as a foregone conclusion. The truth is that Galway are probably looking further ahead. Galway, a county with a rich hurling history which has garnered considerable success. But in recent years, the axis of power has shifted away from them, leaving their trophy cabinet pretty barren, despite good underage success. But with attention focused elsewhere, is this sleeping giant poised to reawaken and bring the Liam McCarthy Cup west again? Jim Carney has been talking to current captain Brian Feeney.
Really, we don't come into the picture until July, early August in the past, you know, because of the fact that we just have one game in Connacht, the Roscommon match, which we're playing next Saturday evening. But I think time will tell and see if we're a sleeping giant or not.
Brian, there's a very good feeling in Galway right now, it seems to me.
A good feeling, yeah, there is, Jim. There's great confidence among the players. There's a great team spirit there, and we're gelling well together, and we're working well with the management. There are people saying that we'll do something this year. Hopefully they'll be right, yeah.
Well, it's been 10 years since Galway last won an All-Ireland senior title. Although last year was supposed to be their year, it proved to be another false dawn for the long-suffering Galway supporters.
I remember the game well. I was playing in the game. We were 10 points up at half-time. I thought it was a good display. I thought we were 10 points up, possibly against the run of play. And things started to go downhill early in the second half. DJ Carey really came into the game. And, I mean, the 10-point lead was wiped off the board in 10 minutes.
How bad a feeling was it?
We were very hurt after the game. I mean, it was terrible to lose the 10-point lead and to come out on the wrong side, because we felt we had a genuinely very good team that was capable of winning an All-Ireland, and to lose a 10-point lead was very disappointing. It took most of us a long time to get over it, you know. But I mean, every new year brings new hope, and hopefully 1998 will be the same.
Brian, can I ask you about just one player, Michael Coleman? as hungry as ever after a long and distinguished career. How does he do it?
Yes, Jim, if you were to ask me who is the most hungry player of a panel of very hungry players, I'd have to say Mikey Coleman. I don't know how he does it. I mean, he's there 10 years ago since Galway won the All-Ireland before, and he's been there since then. And his energy is unbelievable. He's a man that all the players in the panel look up to, and he's admired very much both within Galway and outside Galway. A great hurler.
And he's got this one. He's going through. He takes his shot. It's saved, and it's saved by Michael Keneally. And he's got the ball in his hand, and he clears it out.
Yes, Michael Keneally, a hero for Galway in 1980, is now plotting their downfall as manager of the Roscommon team.
I took Roscommon really to try and keep the game going, to promote the game, you know. I had given up with Sarsfields, you know. I had pulled out with the Sarsfields a year earlier, you know. So I went to Roscommon just to hopefully improve the situation, you know.
Many people would think that the National League would be the training ground for you, but yet you weren't mad about the National League.
No, I found playing Division 2 was more of a hindrance than a help, really. Our first 3 games were 3 Sundays in a row. A lot of the players are away from home and have to travel great distances, like, you know. And when they come home on Friday night, it wasn't ideal time for training before a league match, you know. So it wasn't really until the league was over that we could do something about some proper training.
They would look at you in their dressing room, Michael, and know that you've won an All-Ireland as a player, 2 All-Irelands as a manager. Can they have that kind of ambition?
Of course they can, yeah. It's going to take a bit of time, naturally, but of course they can. You know, this team has great potential. It's just a matter of getting in more training sessions, coming together oftener, more top games for them.
Saturday evening, Michael, will you be able to forget that you're a Galway man?
Oh, certainly, yes. I was given a job to do, I'll do it to the best of my ability.
Pete Finnerty, would it be correct to say this match is a foregone conclusion in Galway's favour?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. I think the only thing is that they might keep it going because to try and promote hurling in Roscommon, and there's no other alternative. But really, Galway will beat them, whatever they like to beat them.
Okay. The Munster final, Tomas, far more intriguing, and the buzz in Waterford is clear. There'll be a great buzz after match again. Who are you going for?
It's obviously Clare are the big fancy. I mean, the display the last day against Cork was very, very good. Waterford, on the other hand, will have learned an awful lot from the Cork-Clare game, I feel, and Gerald McCarthy will have learned an awful lot. There's tremendous hype in Waterford, and how Gerald has been able to protect these players maybe during the week or the last 2 weeks from this, I think will have a big bearing on the game. They've got to concentrate. It is almost the final. Forget about backdoor systems and things like that. It's an opportunity for them to win their first trophy, and I think they'll do a lot better than actually people predict.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the progression through the league and then the tip win, those games have to have helped.
Have to have had their confidence, number one. I mean, people would all say that the ability was there in the team, but they had to produce it on big days, and nobody could really say Waterford were any type of a good team until they had taken a big scalp, and they did that against Tipperary. So they're there to be watched. They have a very, very strong physical side as well. So Clare against Cork the last day, really game plan went according to plan, because they really dominated the key areas, and they took out the men from Cork that they thought were going to be the danger men. So Waterford will have learned from that, and if they can upset Clare, I think that they could be a lot closer.
Okay, and Pete, who are you going for?
I'm going for Clare. I haven't seen a team yet that'll beat Clare, but I wouldn't write Waterford off. They're a good side, they're improving constantly, very similar to Clare, strong in the back, fast up front, good at midfield. There's a game up behind them that they'll tip. Everybody thought they might flop in Championship, but they didn't. Put that behind them. Go, lead. They'll have to lead from the front though. They can't let Clare dominate the game. If they do, they're finished.
Okay. Well, that's enough from the old men of hurling for now. Let's hear how the current players think the match will go. Marks for last week, first of all, Trevor Giles got one right. He said Kerry would beat Cork, but he was wrong about the Sligo Roscommon result. Pat Fallon went for the same 2 results, and Peter Canavan was wrong on both counts. He expected Cork to beat Kerry. So well done to Roscommon for confounding all of them. In hurling last week, James O'Connor was wrong about the Offaly-Kilkenny match, but corrected on Antrim beating Derry. Martin Story is a full house, right with Kilkenny and Antrim, and Joe Rabbit got the same 1 out of 2 as Jamesy did. So to this week, and just the 2 games, of course, Jamesy has gone for Clare to beat Waterford and Galway to beat Roscommon. Martin agrees with him, and not surprisingly, I suppose, Joe goes to the same 2. And so the overall sideline view is that Clare and Galway will be the winners this Sunday. Well, that's about it for now. Unfortunately, we've no time for Inside View because of that Breaking Bab story. Just to remind you again, Michael Bond from Galway takes over as senior manager there. Anyway, we will hear from the Waterford and Clare players again because regardless of the result, they'll both be playing again with the quarter-finals there. Speaking of Clare and Waterford, the Munster Hurling final is live on Network 2 on Sunday afternoon. Coverage begins at 3 o'clock. And there are highlights that evening at 10:20, also on...